So Matthew, why is your network so valuable as a doctor or going into business?
Oh, immense. Genuinely wish someone had sat me down day one, medical school. The first thing you need to know is network. Talk to everyone, get to know everyone, tell everyone what you do, how you do it. The more you network, genuinely everything else is so much easier. It's easier to find jobs. It's easier to refer patients to departments that I've worked in. I think we all know that. Like, if you see a patient in practice and you've got a referral that needs to be done, but it's to a team that you've worked for or you have a connection to in some way, it's so much simpler to just quickly write that referral. And I use it all the time in my private practice because I know who to refer people onto locally, or I know patients. I've even had a patient yesterday say my GP asked me to look at private options because that wasn't going to get seen very quickly on the NHS, which was very honest of them, and I independently found you and they said your name as well. So the sort of networking with peers and colleagues as well as beyond that is just so valuable. I mean, you must have come across this in your own practice.
Absolutely. So, I, as soon as you said about referrals, I remember a case where during my GP training, I'd done acute medicine, and then fast forward 6 months, I was sat in a GP practice, had to refer someone into the acute medicine ward. It was a phone directly to the consultant. I was a bit nervous, picked up the phone. He's got a broad Scottish accent, and he went, "Oh, David, is that you?" And he was like, "Yeah, just send them up. They probably need a scan." I'm like, "Oh, thank." And honestly, the phone call took 2-3 minutes, like compared to the long drawn out S-bar that you have to sort of usually sort of spiel over the phone. And I agree with you that sort of like now and the problem with primary practice is that we're so isolated in our rooms, that you need to get out of your room, get amongst your team in terms of like, right, what are you up to? And I think that's where, though it can be frustrating because you're taking time away from the practice, these other network and socializing events are really important to sort of just see what everyone else is up to. So I've got one this evening. The ICB are doing a listening event, but it's all the practices in the area are coming together in sort of the local football stadium just to sort of have a chat through about what they're going on. And there's a part of me, it's like, oh, I'm giving up my evening. But if we're not there and we're not talking amongst each other, we're going to fail, in my opinion, because we don't know who's literally down the road who can help us out. And you need to chat.
So many more opportunities.
Absolutely.
This is what networking really does, and you can do that in person, as you say. You can do it. I think if you're not on LinkedIn, you're not networking professionally enough, in my opinion. By the way, anybody who's watching, if you want to join us on LinkedIn, I'm sure we can put some links in the bottom. Hello.
Yep, we will do. We'll chuck it all there.
Because the amount of times that things just happen because people know you're doing something and you've been chatting to them about it, or you've had a problem and you've discussed the problem, and then they've come up with a better solution, and that saves hours of my time, if not days or weeks or months of worry and stress. So all these things can be so much more efficient. It just is about talking to people. And I think if genuinely going back to the start, if someone had sat me down and told me do this at the start, I think I'd have picked up and learned that skill a lot quicker, and it would have saved a lot of time. It would have saved me a huge amount of time. And people saying that they can't find a job, and I know there's problems with people getting jobs as GPs, but part of the solution to that problem is how good is your network?
Absolutely.
If the network is pretty big, actually there's going to be more opportunities for jobs. So you can kind of see how the answers to some of these difficult questions become a little bit more straightforward, in my opinion.
So let's rewind. If we were giving a chat to first year Matthew and Dave in university, how would you say to build your network? So we'll give them a couple of quick tips.
I mean, right now, with the tools that are available, things like LinkedIn, definitely my profile. I now have people who are medical students who add me on LinkedIn. Yep. So I'm sure you have the same. So
absolutely, yeah. So completely agree on LinkedIn. We're going to do there. I would almost, to the point where I ignore other social media platforms and just stick on LinkedIn because it's where the professionals are at. So yeah, LinkedIn.
And then I would try and start breaking down those barriers in that student's head, that there's a perceived barrier between a senior clinician and them as a medical student.
Yep.
I'd be wanting to get involved, in terms of contact details, in terms of emails, basically keeping an idea of who these people are, because you never know when you're going to need them again. And there are lots of times where people you don't speak to them for a long time, and then you have to pick up the phone and ring in a referral. But you go back and it's that knowledge is there. So you get a load of networking opportunities as a student. Take every placement you'll need.
Yeah,
10 dozen doctors, I don't know how many, and nurses and everybody else. These are all contacts.
And you've got
about Facebook.
No. But you're right. You're sat. If you're sat in clinic, speak to the consultant about what they're doing, what they're up to. Be interested in them, not just expecting them to teach you about whatever's coming through. Because there will be quiet moments in the clinic, and they're just bored. Ask them what they're up to. What projects are they working on? What can you help out with? If it's not there, then you never know what your career does in sort of 4 or 5 years when you've qualified and beyond, that you might be able to actually go back to them and saying, like, you might not remember me, but I sat in your clinic and this stuck with me. Are you still working on it? Can I help out? And that does work. So, and then
a paper out of something, or a project done, or as everybody is individual, and students nowadays are growing up with technology far more than I'm not that old anymore, not that young, I'm not that old.
We're saying nothing. So.
But the fact is that there are people 20 years younger than me who know an awful lot more about some technologies that I just genuinely don't. So they may have other skills and ideas that might be really, really beneficial. So I don't think that barrier needs to exist, and I think it exists in people's minds more than in reality, because actually you and I both know when you go and start speaking to people and being a bit more open about what they're doing and interested in things beyond just what you're there for that clinic or what you're there for that day to do, there's loads of time to chat about interesting things between theatre cases, between
absolutely
times, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I would say.
And then I think finally, certainly for me, is get out and about. So either you need to sort of find these people. There are still a lot of socialising events going on. So certainly from your local medical committees or LMCs will often run local socialising events. If your PCNs are getting together, make sure you attend them. Be curious about other people and just chat, build up those relationships, because fortunately, unfortunately, but it's just the way it is, a lot of these are built on relationships in terms of, do you know someone who can help out? And guess what? If you know them, it'll happen a darn sight a lot quicker if they know, like, and trust you. And the counter's the true. If you know, like, and trust them, then that's it sorted. So, key takeaways. Get on LinkedIn. Follow both me and Matthew. Sort it out, okay? Drop us a message and see what happens. You never know. Second part, be curious. So if you're a medical student, get chatting to your consultant. What else are they up to? And then finally, get out of your room, whether that's consultation room, bedroom, get out, get social, start making these contacts, spread yourself around, and very best of luck to you.
Good.
There we go.